Month in South Africa, and to continue celebrating, I have my West African dashiki design in the South African Sishweshwe print material. We are live. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. Our email address is newsnetwork@sabc.co.za. Let's start with your social media and technology news. Now, the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, or ICASA, has set aside days to look into the state of competition in the ICT sector. ICASA believes the sector continues to undergo technological changes. It says this has far-reaching implications for local and international industries.
The Independent Communication Authority of South Africa has set aside October the 1st to the 3rd to table out its plan for the state of competition in the ICT sector. It will be looking at competitiveness of the electronic communication, broadcasting and the postal sectors. ICASA also wants to look into the assumption that greater competition will lead into reduction of cost of communication. The hearings are part of the regulator's high-level inquiry into the subject. It has asked industry stakeholders to provide written input into the range of issues. ICASA is also planning to deliberate on subscription television market. This is where MultiChoice's DSTV platform dominates the market. Recently, ICASA has been tasked with setting up regulation for the termination rates. These are rates used by cell phone providers to carry each other's calls. About 6 months ago, ICASA won court case against Vodacom and MTN after accusing them of having duopoly in the market.
We're still waiting for the release date of the iPhone 6 in South Africa. Apple Incorporated revealed 2 new phones and a smartwatch a few days ago, but it seems like the company is no longer setting trends as it did with its original phones, the iPod and the iPad. Here's Network's Lebo Sichake.
These are some of Apple Inc.'s loyal customers eagerly awaiting the launch of their favorite brand's latest iPhone handset. The launched iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus handsets will be in Hong Kong and American stores around September 19th. Release dates for the company's biggest market, China, hasn't been revealed yet. It will be months before the 4.7-inch iPhone 6 and the 5.5-inch iPhone 6 Plus come to South Africa.
Within the next 2 to 3 months. And judging by the iPhone 5S was 9,500 for the cheapest model. So for the next iPhone, if there's 1 or 2, it'll probably be between 9 to 11,000 rand.
It seems Apple is done with releasing cheaper iPhones after the dismal failure of the iPhone 5C. It was widely speculated whether Apple would follow the smartwatch trend.
People sort of go to the extreme of possibility in terms of what Apple might possibly come up with, but they hardly ever do. I mean, 5 years ago they were talking about a curved screen and all sorts of good things, but that has never happened to date.
But this time Apple did follow speculation. Many say the company has lost the cool factor as it no longer sets trends but follows them as it's done with the smartwatch.
Demo Africa is taking place in Lagos, Nigeria for the first time this year. At the event, 40 African technology startup companies will be pitching their ideas to potential investors. Yesterday, I had a Google Hangout chat with Demo Africa director Mbugu Njihia to find out more about this year's event. Demo Africa organizers had to sort through hundreds of ideas to find the 40 that will be pitching at this year's Demo Africa in Lagos, Nigeria. During a Google Hangouts discussion with events director Mbugu Njihia yesterday, he told me that the quality of what they're getting has improved.
We're starting to see people having bolder ideas about the sort of things they want to do.
The categories they're pitching include water and sanitation, public transport, manufacturing, media and entertainment, banking and others. Mobile applications have dominated in Africa, but Njihia says the continent is getting more creative now.
We're moving beyond mobile applications because mobile apps are simply a channel and you're looking more at holistic platforms.
Some of those include Kitiwa from Ghana, which is a service similar to Bitcoins and helps people transfer digital money.
Online presence, advertise to the local market.
There's Kuza, a platform that helps buyers and sellers in emerging markets trade goods and services. Kabila is another one pitching this year. It's a media content creator that uses crowdsourcing and digital media to provide clients with information. They will be asking for funding from technology company executives, government representatives, and other members of the business sector here in Africa and abroad. The conference takes place between 22 and 26 September in the Oriental Hotel in Lagos. With over 500,000 of its people having access to the internet, Kenya is now Africa's leading nation when it comes to internet access and connectivity. Not only that, the country has the second cheapest internet costs in Africa and the highest bandwidth per person. This is according to a report by Liquid Telecom titled Lifting Barriers to Internet Development in Africa. Here's Network's Tile Khaswane with the details.
Kenya is said to have the most concentrated cluster of undersea broadband cables connecting to Europe, the Middle East and Asia. In just 5 years, the landing of some of these cables has delivered speedier internet access and the second cheapest internet costs in Africa after the Gambia. The country's mobile revolution and innovation is well documented, with the mobile money transfer system M-Pesa the most notable. But Kenya's newfound position as the leading connected country on the continent beckons for greater innovation in the internet space.
We're starting to look into what else can be done in the tech space given the resources we now have. So we're seeing a lot of insight into Internet of Things. We're seeing a lot more of people trying to look into hardware as well.
Although Kenya is a low-income country, it boasts internet infrastructure rivaling some of its middle-income counterparts such as Botswana, Namibia and Gabon. In fact, according to the recent report by Liquid Telecom, Kenya's capital city Nairobi has now joined Johannesburg as one of Africa's only 2 regional internet hubs. But according to Nanjira Sambuli of iHub Nairobi, Johannesburg has its flaws.
As the statistics indicate that SA has infrastructure, SA has a consumer base, and it's just where can these new ideas start coming from and where are people testing them out.
With the likes of Lagos, Accra and Kigali in the race, Nairobi and Johannesburg cannot afford to rest on their laurels in retaining their status as Africa's 2 regional internet hubs.
Now, crowdfunding seems to be a new solution for people who need money for their initiatives. Recently, we've heard of someone who even went online to ask for strangers for abortion money. It seems people think they can ask for anything from strangers over the internet.
With the wide use of technology, people are finding new ways to get funding. Traditional funders like banks and loan providers would usually look for surety and will vet one's credit history. Now comes crowdfunding. The way it works is similar to crowdsourcing. All you have to do is register on a crowdfunding website, convince everyone to fund your cause. But it seems that some sites have gone into some kind of gatekeeping in deciding who can ask for donations. In the UK, a crowdfunding website, GoFundMe, has removed a page from a woman asking for cash to finance her abortion. Known only as Bailey, the woman has asked for about 25,000 rands for the procedure. But the website took her page down after complaints came in from the public. Here at home, Caitlin Clerk, a performer, needed money for her trip to New York. She has been accepted to the Film Academy for a 4-week course. After petitioning for sponsorship from many companies without success, Clerk went the crowdfunding route through the Kickstart website. Fortunately, she was able to get the much-needed funds.
Facebook is the most popular social network in the world. What started as a side university project for Mark Zuckerberg has resulted in a platform that connects over 1 billion people. Now, Zuckerberg says he wants to help more people get online.
There are 1.3 billion people on Facebook. That's a big feat for founder 30-year-old Mark Zuckerberg, who is the world's youngest self-made billionaire. Zuckerberg now says he wants more people to have internet access.
Today, only about 1/3 of people in the world have access to the internet. And as the company that's building the biggest internet service, we feel this really big responsibility to try to make sure that we can help bring the internet to more people.
The Facebook CEO was speaking at an event organized by another billionaire, Carlos Slim, in Mexico City. He says his company is prepared to spend billions of dollars to reach its new goal. Facebook launched its Internet.org project last year to connect billions of people without internet access in remote areas in Africa and Asia by working with phone operators.
SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. After the break, we talk about mobile web in Africa.
10 South Africans survived 2014. Many of us actually were given bursaries by state-owned enterprises, but the state shrunk, telecom was privatized, and now you are sitting with huge unemployed people, but huge backlogs in terms of infrastructure that could develop the same young people.
It's in our hands, and our future is up to us. It's a tough year, and tough decisions will have to be made by the government. It's an election year, which makes it difficult to make tough decisions. I mean, it's tough to make tough decisions. It's especially tough in an election year.
That's Rights and Recourse, Sundays 2 p.m. on SABC News.
It's SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. Welcome back. Now, Mobile Web in Africa ended on Friday in the Johannesburg City Centre. Different players in the mobile devices and internet spaces were in the city to exchange ideas on how to improve the sector. Author, consultant and former Nokia executive Domi Ahonen was one of the highlights this year.
Speakers at this year's Mobile Web Africa came from all over the world and various parts of Africa such as Kenya, Nigeria and Tanzania. Organizers say there are a few reasons why they choose an international lineup.
One is about learning about how to harness the internet and applications on mobile devices. The second aim is about bringing the players together, the ecosystem together and developing growth in the ecosystem.
Nanjira Sambuli from iHub in Nairobi in Kenya was one of the speakers.
What I spoke about was around funding, NGO funding in the Kenyan tech ecosystem and whether that is stifling innovation.
Organizers say if members of the public want information about any of the presentations, they can log on their website and make the request there.
Ruan Murray from Switching House also gave a presentation at Mobile Web in Africa. He joins us to talk about the event. Hello and thank you for being a part of our network tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, are events like Mobile Web in Africa still necessary?
I do believe they are. You know, the industry and specifically what we are trying to achieve in terms of financial inclusion definitely requires the industry leaders and the people that make decisions to sit together. So I definitely do believe that things like that is needed, probably more so than previous, because we are really going into a time of explosion in the industry at the moment.
What do you mean the time of explosion in the industry? Is that the mobile industry?
Yeah, I'm talking about specifically having a look at some of the news items that you even had here earlier today. I mean, looking at how many people are starting to access the internet via mobile, how many mobile money operators are starting to penetrate the market and really make a difference into the market. So there's many things to discuss. One of them is interoperability, so we definitely need to chat about it.
Let's talk about that actually, those m-commerce services. Do you think there are enough companies in South Africa, for example, that offer m-commerce services?
We are exposed as Switching House in Australia as well as in Central Africa. And I'm very proud of the South African industry. I think we're very strong. There's many innovators in this industry. So I think there's enough companies. Whether we've made the right decisions in terms of actually penetrating and getting into the market, that is something that's up for discussion.
Explain that a bit more.
I think there's a few things that we need to do when we talk about mobile money and financial inclusion, and that is that we have to provide a service that's firstly agnostic in terms of a mobile network. You shouldn't be forced to actually make use of a specific network. That's the first thing. The second thing is you shouldn't be forced to make use of a specific type of phone. So whether it's a smartphone or not, you should be given access to services. And then thirdly, I also think it should be a service that's bank agnostic as well. So I think if you look at the projects that's in the space at the moment in time, all of them are either related to a MNO or sometimes related to a bank. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed.
And when you compare South Africa to the rest of the continent, how is it going there?
I think we are getting there. There's a few very interesting things starting up now in the space, specifically looking at acceptance of mobile commerce payments at point of sale. I think enterprise payment solutions in the FMCG space is picking up wonderfully. And I also think that we are specifically working on with the two operators on integrating them into an enterprise payment solution with large manufacturers. So I think that is going to have a good impact over the next few months and years.
All in all, how was Mobile Web in Africa?
Great, fantastic conference. Well done.
All right, Ruan Murray from Switching House. Thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Pleasure.
Now, as we celebrate Heritage Month, we continue spotlighting some great technological inventions that come out of South Africa. This week, we look at the world's fastest X-ray machine, the Lodox exemplar DR scanner. Popular American TV show Grey's Anatomy even developed a whole episode around the South African invention.
Lodox is a full-body digital X-ray scanner, and it's the only one of its kind in the world. Essentially, what it can do is take an X-ray from head to toe in 13 seconds, which is incredibly fast, and it does that at a very low dose, which is much safer to the patients and to the people administering the X-ray. And at the same time, it gives you very good image quality, because there's no point doing something quickly if the quality is not good. Right now, it's in 10 countries, and we have 46 installations globally. Big concentration in South Africa and the United States. We have a system, one of our scanners at Los Angeles County Hospital. And if you look at the story of Grey's Anatomy at that time, they were redoing their trauma unit. So what the writers did is they went to LA County Hospital, which is close to where the studios are. And they said, look, give us some tips on what we should include on this new trauma unit. And the guys there said, look, if you want to have a good trauma unit on your show, you have to have the Lodox scanner. And the rest is history. And they eventually ended up, as you said, putting an entire episode around the idea of this Lodox scanner, and it's been wonderful since then.
And after the break, we talk about this book. It's Tech Savvy Parenting. News Network at SABC.co.za. Stay with us.
The Swaziland Tourism Authority invited Kaleidoscope on a media tour of what has become known as the Little Switzerland of Africa, the Kingdom of Swaziland. The Mantanga Waterfall is one of Swaziland's best known and most accessible waterfalls, as it can be seen within 50 meters.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Find us in social media, SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. Now, times have changed since the invention of the World Wide Web. Now, a lot of children use the internet for their entertainment, and a lot of their time there is often unsupervised. Even if parents are around, there are many who aren't as clued up as their children. Tonight in the studio, we have one of the authors of the book, Tech Savvy Parenting, Arthur Goldstuck. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network.
Good evening.
Now, what made you decide to write Tech Savvy Parenting?
We've been inundated with requests from parents, from educators, schools, and even organizations on the issue of how do we address this challenge of so many people having access to the internet, being able to use it wherever they are, kids in school, adults in the workplace, and there's no supervision, there's no control. So Nikki Bush, who's a parenting expert, was being approached with the same kind of question on how do we parent children who have got access to so much technology as well as information. And we put our heads together and we realized that actually the answer was the same. The answer is about parenting. It's not about the technology itself. And we realized there was a need for a book that guided parents into this new world of technology, but through the filter of good parenting.
Now, a lot of kids spend a lot of time in social media. How do you touch on this issue?
The big issue with social media is to understand that you're speaking on a soapbox, you're talking to the world. My analogy is always, you must think that you're standing on a stage in a school hall talking to your friends, your teachers, your parents, your grandparents even. Would you say it if they were in the audience, well, then you shouldn't say it on social media. And that's really the basic rule. You really are in public, and you have to understand you've got to behave accordingly. Once they understand that picture, once they get that picture, their behavior tends to shift completely, and they become responsible social citizens.
So here you're talking to parents on how they should talk to their children about what they should do in social media, right?
That's correct. But it's also a guide for teachers and to some extent for the children themselves as well. Children will get tremendous value out of the book in understanding what the implications are of what they're exploring, what they're doing, but also the opportunities. And that's one of the things we really push very hard in the book, is for parents to understand that it's not only about the dangers, it's not just the perils of being online or in social media. If you can channel your energies appropriately and you can think about the opportunities out there, it's a massive world of opportunity waiting for children.
It's interesting that you mentioned the dangers. Do you think a lot of parents think that the internet is dangerous?
A lot of parents do, but probably more dangerous is the fact that many parents don't realize how dangerous it is or what the dangers are. So they allow their kids, for example, onto Facebook when they're 10 years old, and the kids are too young to cope with the social issues that arise from cyberbullying, for example, bullying in the social environment, publicly or privately, even through messaging in these networks. So that the parents have to equip the children, and the children, in fact, have to be equipped with the emotional tools as well as the technology tools to be able to handle themselves in that environment.
Issues of addiction, do you touch on that?
Addiction is a very big issue, and we touch on it not just from a social media point of view, but all the way from TV through to gaming, through to social media and browsing the internet. So we talk about the various screens, and the screen time that parents allow their children is in fact what leads to often addiction or social withdrawal or lack of physical activity. How much
screen time should they allow their children?
It depends. It depends very much on what else they're doing and what they're doing with that screen time. But let's take gaming, for example, on big consoles. If the kids are playing more than an hour a day during the week in particular, then there's a problem. Over the weekend, there's certain leeway that can be had.
Yeah.
But during the week, obviously, school must come first, but physical activity also has to be balanced with that screen time.
Arthur Goldstuck, author of Tech Savvy Parenting, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight. Now, here's what some people have been sharing in social media. People all over the world have been sharing thoughts on Oscar Pistorius in social media. The South African Olympic star has been found guilty of culpable homicide after he killed his girlfriend Rieva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day last year. Many are divided on their thoughts on the verdict. South African music acts Mafikizolo, Gangs of Ballet and Goldfish have been nominated in the European Music Awards. Many have been tweeting about this. Other nominees are Ghana's Sarkodie Ye, Kenya's Sauti Sol and Nigeria's Tiwa Savage and David O. Social media is a method of voting this year. And many have been discussing the PhD that Zimbabwe's First Lady, Grace Mugabe, has just received. 2 months ago, it was revealed that Mrs. Mugabe had enrolled at the University of Zimbabwe for the PhD, and now, just 2 months later, it's come out that she has received the PhD. Her husband, President Robert Mugabe, is Chancellor of the university. In most countries, it takes extensive research of 2 to 5 years for one to receive a PhD after completing a master's degree. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter at newsnetwork at sabc.co.za on email. On YouTube, on the Day Don't Read account, we found a clip of South African Black Consciousness Movement leader Steve Bantu-Biko. He died in the hands of apartheid police on September 12 in 1977. They claimed he had tripped and fallen because hands were handcuffed and 1 foot in leg irons shackled to an iron bar. He had urine-drenched blankets. The YouTube clip we leave you with has Biko describing what he saw as the possible future for South Africa. From me and the rest of the team, have a good one.
We see a completely non-racial society. We don't believe, for instance, in the so-called guarantees for minority rights, because guaranteeing minority rights implies the recognition of portions of the community on a race basis. We believe that in our country there shall be no minority, there shall be no majority, there shall just be people. And those people will have the same status before the law, and they will have the same political rights before the law. So in a sense, it will be a completely non-racial egalitarian society.
That will the vast number of blacks, after all their experiences, be able to live a life without giving vent to feelings of revenge, of
yes, we believe it is the duty of the vanguard political movement which brings about change to educate people's outlooks. I mean, in the same way that blacks have never lived in a socialist economic system, they've got to learn to live in one. In the same way that they've always lived in a racially divided society, they've got to learn to live in a non-racial society. They've got many things to learn, and all these must be brought to them and explained to the people by the vanguard movement, which is leading the revolution.